The Anaheim Ducks have made a sneaky good signing. We get into exactly what that was in this edition of Ducks Digest. Hey, it's Mike Nelson. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I want to thank the 19% of you, the ones who are watching these videos, who have already hit the sub button. But 81% of you have not subscribed yet. Not sure why. We are the newest Anaheim Ducks YouTube channel, bringing you everyday Ducks content. So support a fellow Anaheim Ducks fan since 2003 and hit that subscribe button. As we know, the Ducks made a signing today. No, they didn't sign Mason McTavish. I know everybody is still on, basically still on their toes, still trying to figure out what's going to happen with Mason McTavish, right? I mean, that is what every Ducks fan is still worried about, including myself, right? Because you don't want to see Mason McTavish go to another team. You don't want to see the Ducks trade him away. And nothing has happened, right? Still no contract for Mason McTavish. But today the Ducks made an interesting signing, right? They signed Sam Colangelo to a 2-year contract. As we know, Colangelo scored 9 of his 10 goals in his final 18 games last year. Kind of had a good closeout to the season. The Ducks have signed right wing Sam Colangelo to a 2-year contract through the 26-27 NHL season. 2-way next season, a 1-way contract the year after. Colangelo scored 12 points in 32 games, ranking third among all NHL rookies in goals per game. So definitely had some good numbers. He scored 9 of his 10 goals in his final 18 games. Like I said, played only 32 games. It really caught fire at the end of the season, basically when the Ducks were playing meaningless hockey, unfortunately. While he also, of course, like I said, 10 goals in his final 18 contests, while he had a 4-game goal streak as well between March 4th and 9th. The longest goal streak in the NHL by a rookie last season, 6'2", 211 pounds, has scored 13 points with 4 penalty minutes in 35 NHL career games with Anaheim. Of course, talking about, what is going to happen next year with the Ducks and Sam Colangelo, right? I mean, I really think Sam Colangelo is one of those depth pieces, as we know. He's going to be, spending a lot of time with the San Diego Gulls next season. Of course with the Ducks, but you don't expect him to really, play a huge role with the Ducks. That's why it is a 2-way contract. It's still going to be another year for him to spend time playing in San Diego, right, as he tries to, break into the NHL. Colangelo made his NHL debut a season back in the 23-24 season following his collegiate career, where he, of course, had very good numbers with in 4 NCAA seasons between Northeastern University and Western Michigan University. In his senior year and his first with Western Michigan, Colangelo led the NCAA in hat tricks, had some awesome numbers. The guy had a great college season. He led his team in goals, ranked 3rd in scoring and 4th in plus and minus. So definitely a proven player at the collegiate level, and had, some good moments as well in the NHL. Let's not say like Colangelo hasn't done anything with the Ducks, right? Like I said, had a bit of a run there at the end. And was, played very well for sure with the Ducks at the end of that season, right? Near the end of the season, had some good numbers, and, that's what's exciting, right? It's just definitely exciting, what we've seen from Colangelo, who has very limited NHL experience, right? It's very limited, right? I mean, he only had 32 games last year. He had 3 games the season before where he had 1 point, so technically had, just 12 points last year. So obviously the sample size is very little to get extremely excited over Colangelo. But I guess what he did last year was enough for the Ducks to ink him a contract. Now, I want to talk a little bit about something that Bleacher Report has done for all 32 NHL teams, and that was, which I thought was very interesting, what they did with this ranking. They basically picked a Mount Rushmore, the 4 best players for each franchise, for their franchise history, right? Where would you put, your 4 best players for your team, for your franchise? And of course, the question goes out to everybody. Who would you put for your 4 players for the Mount Rushmore for our Anaheim Ducks, right? A team that, of course, has, a lot of history. It's only been around 32 years, but still has a lot of history, right? A lot of great players have played for the Ducks. And guess what? We won the first Stanley Cup in California's history back in 2007. So we've had a lot of history, and, Bleacher Report shows these 4 names that we all recognize and we all remember. Ryan Getzlaf at center, obviously. Corey Perry, Teemu Selanne, and Jean-Sebastien Giguère. Wow. Those 4 players are the Mount Rushmore of the Anaheim Ducks, according to Bleacher Report. Now, if I'm looking at the list objectively, which sometimes it's hard when you're a fan, you have to agree with it, right? Come on. Getzlaf, Perry, they have to be on the Mount Rushmore. 2 most recognized names in Ducks history. Ryan Getzlaf playing his entire career with the Ducks. Corey Perry playing most of his career with the Ducks. And the only MVP in franchise history, Corey Perry, which is something that's, you have to commend him for that. Winning the MVP one season, the only Duck to do that. And, also had a lot of, great moments, right? It didn't end too well with Corey Perry, and it didn't end too well either with Ryan Getzlaf. That's where I guess it kind of, you kind of had that bitter taste. But for the other 2 guys, come on. Teemu Selanne is arguably the most recognized Duck player ever, right? This guy, as we know, played with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks back in the 90s, and then, of course, left the Ducks before their Cup run. Sally was not part of that 03 Cup run, because if he was, we probably would have been lifting Lord Stanley. But Selanne left the team before, that run, and then, of course, came back for one of the best, comebacks in NHL history, as we know, leading the Ducks to a Stanley Cup in 2007, and just, so he had to be there, right? And then, as we know, Jean-Sebastien Giguère, the best goaltender the Ducks have ever had. Giguère, my favorite player growing up. This guy was incredible. Come on. Wins a Conn Smythe Trophy on a losing team as a goaltender in 2003. That's legendary. And, let's not forget what he did, that series against Minnesota. Incredible. And then, was a huge part of that Cup-winning team as well in 2007, and had to put him there. But there has to be some honorable mentions, right? Scott Niedermayer comes to mind, a player that, didn't play, obviously, most of his career with the Ducks, but one of the greatest players the Ducks ever had. And, of course, we have to mention Chris Pronger. Come on, the Ducks don't go to the finals or win a Stanley Cup if Chris Pronger's on the team. We got to go with Prongs, right? Chris Pronger. And, another name that comes to mind that, I also, am a big fan of, and I think a lot of you out there are as well, as Paul Kariya, right? Paul Kariya, the first real Duck, star, has to get mentioned as well, right? Paul Kariya, without him, the Ducks aren't what they are today. So we have so much history. It's great to just sit. I could talk for hours about Ducks history, right? It seems it's more fun to talk about the old Ducks than it is sometimes about the team we have right now. But, hopefully what do you think? Comment below. What do you think about the Mount Rushmore of Anaheim Ducks? As always, if you're seeing this for the first time, or maybe you haven't, but you're still on the fence, hit the subscribe button. Come on, it's the Ducks. We love the Ducks. As always, let's go Ducks. Woo!